So I want to talk about V41, the Windows HP-41 emulator. It's the last, or continue at from the last Allschwil meeting where I called it "A Dream Become Truth." And this means, okay, I added virtual HPCalc, and I now say, okay, A Dream Become Truth Part 2. So what changed in the last 4 years? We have many times. So a short overview for those who don't know what it is. It's emulator for the 41 hardware, written by Warren Follow, maintained by me in the last 4 years. It's working on mostly all Windows devices, also older versions, supporting many modules over mod files, import, export directly from focal programs, and new supporting the hpCalc module over virtual hpCalc. So what we have here now, as you see, I'm using here the PI-EL device instead of ELPR. Now that you can see, okay, it's still working, or it's also working, so it makes no difference. It's virtual hpCalc, and so it's working. So in this particular case, you can use here the print and the advanced button, because iDevice support is enabled, and so you can the calculator can ask about the printer keys, and so the printer keys are working. So this is the binary size over the years. The actual at top is my actual beta, has 252 kilobytes. The original version from Warren has 164. My first version 180 kilobyte. The actual public version of H is 244 kilobytes. You see, I done many things on this emulator in the last 4 years. So this was the release 9 I published at or presented at the list meeting. So and more or less say, okay, what's to have to do is adding the iDevice feature, which wasn't implemented at this time, and mainly we had discussed it 5 minutes before, scope command from the development module, that you can show the frames which are working on the over the loop with an HP-41. So it's also possible that you can show this like with an original module. So the full list of changes can be found in the help file. The V41 is presented with, or continue in a help file, and at the end of the English section there's a complete log file or changes log. So on here, what I show here is only the highlights, because it's too much to show every item what we have. So we see, okay, the one was from November. Here we are in January, 2 months later. I added the iDevice support. No directory limitations for log files. The old versions, the LOD files must be in the same directory like the V41 exe. This limitation has been removed. There was a problem with too large fonts, so when you open this, then the display was moving outside the background area. This was fixed also. Then we have trace. We can make a trace file with CPU registers and so on, and this file also contain the time registers, but they always had been a 0 or not being updated. So this was also bug. So they now show the correct content. So we have then here another 4 months later a big change. Here I implemented the scope command. 2 key rollover. The problem is the HP-41 has a keyboard, or has a hardware keyboard. State machine. This is written in hardware, and when you want to press 2 keys at the same time, this, of course, the implementation of this hardware must be correct, and so this wasn't on the first level, and so I made it possible that you, with the keyboard, can press 2 keys at the same way or at the same time. This is necessary, for example, when you want to do a reset. you switch off the 41, press the backspace key, and then press, while pressing the backspace key, switching the calculator on, and then you're getting a memory reset. Because of this, this is implemented. Also, the Panam ROM has also some 2 key combinations, which you can also use there now. Then we have the possibility the LOD files are remembering which was the last one I opened and added an MRU list. MRU most recently used is that you see in the file dialog the last 4 used files for convenience. Added reset, I was asked to add a reset pin when the software crashes an MCOD program or something. You have the possibility to switch it back to a reset address null. Showing the add character wasn't working on TrueColor fonts. Breakpoint list, normally you had the possibility of 2 types of breakpoints. You can enter an address in hex, hexadecimal, or you can enter a name. And then I recognized when you typed in date, he jumped to address DA. He interpreted the D and the A as hex number, and not a state as string. Okay, was fixed. Also interesting thing, you may have recognized that the icon has changed, and the author of the old icon was Peter Janssen, and he asked me if we could add the new one with a better resolution and so on. So it was done. So you see, it's quite a long time. It's only a fix 3 months later. It was a hot fix. I haven't changed anything else. Then another long time. We see it's about 9 months. There's only one minor changes when I recognized something. I'd done it, but I had done no real work on V41. So this is a long period here. And another long period, revision 9E. We have only 2 points. Fix bugs in hpcalc module. I know, or I recognize that the hpcalc module wasn't working very well on the V41. And then I began to go through the errors I found. But I never write, okay, fixed all problems with the hpcalc module, because I'm still a beginner and I couldn't say, okay, it's now everything working. I think, okay, that what I tested worked, and everything else I don't know. And I wanted to avoid that somebody tells me, oh, this isn't working, so I say, okay, be happy with what's at the moment is. But at the moment I don't know where are the real problems on it. Okay, saving in the QRAM, what files was working and so on. So this was the first thing was done. And then later I recognized that the W&W Rambox wasn't implemented. But when you have a look into the documentation, it was never a goal, so there's something missing. So I added the bank switching of the Rambox 2, the 64 kilobyte Rambox 2. So this should also work. So this was the main change. After some things, then it was a mixture. So I added the XLarge background picture. Was one topic was we're getting older and older, and the display is getting smaller and smaller. I think then we have to increase the background of the picture. Fixed get user code. What I don't know is the calculator, or when running a program, the calculator calculates the difference of short jumps. Normally they are initialized by 0, and then I recognize, okay, I don't know where the target address is, and then the calculator replaces the number or the 0 by the correct distance. And so at next runtime, the calculator can execute the program faster. What I don't know, because I have the possibility to use EMU or 42 programs also on the 41 and vice versa. And what I don't recognize is that both calculators, even if the commands are in the same order, the offsets are calculated different. So in this particular case, when I'm loading now such a program, I set all distances to 0, that the calculator has the possibility to put in his correct offset. This was the point here. And some minor change on, perhaps some of you may recognize already, cursor. All my other emulators use the arrow cursor, and when you're moving the cursor over a virtual button, then it changed to a hand cursor. This I added also. Here you see on the cursor, okay, here's a virtual button behind which you can press. 9G, this is later, or this is a one, I would call it a debug, or to improve the debug capabilities of V41 or so. I tested, or I made tests with the service ROM and so on, and so I tried to figure out what's happened. The service ROM is still not working, but these are results. For example, what we have here is the bank switch to BK. The other one was to save place, was coded in a way you can't read. Here you see, okay, every bank or every, not bank, sorry, every page is here on bank one. Some more room. What's also new is context menu. When you now here open the context menu, you get a list of registers. You are able to modify the register content. Okay, it's possible, or people have different methods of debugging. I normally don't use this way. When I recognize the bug and see, okay, the content of register is wrong, then I have the possibility to correct it and continue the program, or what I regularly do is stop the program, fix the bug, and wait and stop, and on another time with a fixed version, and then debug continue. But in this case, we have the possibility to modify the register content here in single-step mode, if you want it. So, version G, breakpoint. You see, the breakpoint dialog has been changed a little bit thing. You have now a checkbox in front, so you're able to disable temporary a breakpoint without deleting it, because before you have to delete it, and when you have to remember, oh, I need it another time, oh, what was the address? And so here you can disable it, and good is. So the next important point for me was the breakpoints had been saved. So your debug session added 5, 10 breakpoints and so on. Must you do everything, close the program, open another time, and the breakpoints had been gone. Okay, it's passed. Here they're now saved in the LOD file. Trace. This is a new dialog because the trace capabilities, you had only the possibility, the name was given, so you had only the possibility to switch it on, trace log, trace file, or switch it off. Now you have the possibility to say the name, the path, if you want to create a new one when you enable it, or you want to append your log file, or especially on the right side, what you want to see, CPU registers, do you want to see the time module registers, octal mode is, for example, interesting. The normal mode was hexadecimal. That means when you're working with the NOMAS listing of a CX, then all addresses in this NOMAS document are hexadecimal. But when you're working, for example, with the time module, comparing the addresses, these addresses are an octal. And so you can switch it to octal, and then you can compare the listing of the NOMAS listing with the one we see in the debugger. And finally, opcode. Normally, each line is containing of address, the binary opcode, and the disassembled opcode. And here you can switch off the opcode. It's not really necessary for most cases, and so you can reduce the created file size of such a trace file. Release 9H. So I added mod 2 format file. The difference between the old mod 1 format was that ROM images are saved in the bin file format, whereas mod 2 saving such a ROM file in the ROM format. This has some implications on the CL file format. The CL uses the unused bits for turbo information and some other things, and these are preserved now in the mod file 2 format. Yeah.
Is there a document that specifies the mod 2 file format?
Sorry?
Is there a document that specifies the difference between the mod 1 and mod 2?
I can't say at the moment. What's the difference between? But this is the only difference. One is saving as ROM format, and the other one is bin format. That's the only difference between the two formats.
Okay.
So the next problem was, okay, with get user code, you can enter user code into the memory, and the way of searching when is RAM end had been changed here. This is was documented in the SAN-ROM. They say, okay, the last buffer has in the register in byte 6 an don't know, F0. This is only true for key assignments. Here is in bit 6, and so this information first was wrong. And so the method how I find the last address, which is free or which is used by a different way. And here we're coming then to the RAM viewer. This is one of the most topics in release 9AH. I was working with it and I found no possibility to show the RAM content. Okay, you can use, for example, the SAN-ROM, for example, where we have the possibility to show inside, but I wanted to have an overview that I would know what I'm doing. And so on the left side we see, it's quite difficult to read. We have different sections, and one of the important things is the buffer. Buffer, we have not always buffers in this particular case. The buffers on the right side, I showed you the content. In this part we have a key assignment here below, and then I added the plotter ROM and initialized the plotter ROM, and you see, okay, which buffer he required or allocated his memory for this buffer. And so you have a visibility, okay, what's happened inside the RAM to decode it. Okay, here, this is also online, so you can, it's a modus dialog. You can let this viewer open, and then you can type in, and you see especially the changes here in the status view, for example, and you see all registers. So you have an expanded register view. A short word to mod edit. Of course, I introduced a new format, mod 2 file format. Before it was also a problem to make minor changes, especially with a mod file, and I wrote a mod file editor. On the left side of the mod file consists of a header and modules, different modules. In this particular case, we have here the CX ROM. On the left side, we see the module header, the information of the module header. On the right side here, on the top here, we have the information about the first module in this particular case. So we see, okay, the CX ROM has three basic ROMs, and then we have the function module, we have the time module, which are then banked, and so on. We can here see the configuration. So this editor is normally, you can modify the things, or you can create a new one. So it's a general purpose editor for modifying. And of course, you can here at the top, when you want to create a mod 2 file, you can load this mod 1 file, change this icon to mod 2 format, and then save it, and then you have the same file in mod 2 format. So, where to get? Okay, you can find it on my homepage, and on Word. This page is also possible to download the programs. Yep.
I have a question, very nice. I mean, but I have a Macintosh. Is there any possibility to have a version which is running on the Macintosh, or what should be done?
No, it's only over.
Silent software or VMware.
Yeah,
I know,
but there's no native version. It's a pure Windows program, and only over the Wine or don't know how on the Mac is.
Parallel software or VMware. You can maybe run it. I don't know about the HPL stuff, but you can also run it with Wine or crossover with a version for of Wine for Mac. Which one? VMware, well, VMware Player is now free.
That's free, so it's for it.
Yeah, but yeah.
So you use it now.
No, yeah, but you have to have Windows inside. You have to have a copy of Windows.
But in what language is it written? I mean, the whole code is it written?
That's MFC. That's C++ code, but especially with an environment of Microsoft. So you have this environment on other compilers or on native compilers for the Mac or something. So it's, I wouldn't say impossible, but it would have many work to convert such a program for another operating system.
Okay, thank you.
So, thanks. We see us tomorrow on the next.